What's going on, everybody? It's your boy GemMint, and with how great the X-Men 97 animated series has been, I thought what better time than now to count down the top 10 best X-Men Omnibus. Now, this is really my personal favorite. I was trying to think, what are the essential X-Men Omnis? What would I keep? If I had to get rid of all my Omnibus and I can only keep 10 X-Men books, which ones would I keep? And I think we got a good list here for you guys today. Now, it didn't feel appropriate to do this video without giving an honorable mention to X-Men Grand Design by Ed Piskor. 6 issues covering 30 years of X-Men history. This is basically like the Cliff Notes for X-Men. If you want to just breeze through and get as much of the history as you can without reading 10 Omnibus, you definitely want to check out Grand Design, whether it's the Omnibus format, they have a Treasury edition, trade paperback, and definitely rest in peace to Ed Piskor. All right, now I didn't rank these in the order from my least favorite to favorite. They're really in chronological order, and I'm such a sucker for starting at the beginning, so we gotta go with X-Men Volume 1 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The book that started it all. Not only is it the first appearance of the core X-Men team, you have Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Beast, Angel, Iceman, you have Professor X, you have Magneto, but this volume, which collects the first 31 issues, has so many other first appearances. You get the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, you get Scarlet Witch and her brother Quicksilver, you get the Sentinels, you get Juggernaut, the first appearance of the Banshee, you even get Mimic, which has been criminally underused ever since his inception. The Volume 1, I think, is a great place to start. It is Silver Age. It's not as accessible as, let's say, Silver Age Spider-Man, but I think it's the next best thing. Probably a tie between X-Men and Fantastic Four, but Volume 1 of the Silver Age X-Men. Now, we're going to skip over Volume 2 of the Silver Age X-Men, and we're going to jump into Uncanny X-Men Volume 1. Another great omnibus to start with. If you don't like Silver Age material, this is definitely an essential book. It starts off with Giant Size X-Men 1, introducing the new team, coming with new X-Men stories after a slew of reprints. Silver Age X-Men books didn't sell too well after the first 60 issues or so, and they started reprinting earlier stories. Well, with this new team, breathe new life into the X-Men, and right after that, you get Chris Claremont doing an epic run on X-Men. This book here contains the first appearance of Jean Grey as Phoenix. You get some Wolverine origin stories with the first appearance of Alpha Flight. You get the first appearance of Emma Frost, the White Queen, the Hellfire Club, and of course, Dazzler. This not only includes, like I mentioned, Giant Size X-Men 1, but it goes X-Men 94 through 131 plus Annual 3. Now, we are going to go back-to-back volumes with Uncanny X-Men. Like I said, Claremont had an epic run on this team. Volume 2 of Uncanny X-Men contains the Dark Phoenix saga. We get introduced to the Phoenix in that first volume, and then she goes bad in Volume 2. And boy, do I mean bad. They have not even scratched the surface of how evil the Dark Phoenix was in live action or in the animated series as they did in the comics. I mean, she literally destroys planets. Shortly after that, you get the 2-part Days of Future Past, which they pack so much of a punch in just those 2 issues. You get Avengers Annual 10, the first appearance of Rogue. Definitely an essential omnibus. Since this is an omnibus video, we got to give a shout out to organicpricebooks.com, a great place to buy your omnis, way under cover price. They have pre-order options, they have bomb-proof packaging, super fast shipping, and you can save $2 every time you use code GemMint at checkout. Great for anybody within the United States. If you're overseas, I got you covered as well. Comicsbugle.com is your #1 source for omnibus in the EU. There's no taxes, no import fees, and free shipping within the EU. They have bomb-proof packaging as well. They use recyclable materials. They have pre-order options, and you don't pay for the book until it's ready to ship. And you can also save $2 every time you use code GemMint over at comicsbugle.com. All right, now this one, I was kind of debating putting this on the list, but since we've gotten so much Madeline Pryor love within the X-Men 97 animated series, I thought it would be only right to showcase the Inferno. Now, there is a prelude Inferno omnibus and an aftermath, but this is the core omnibus, and they really didn't even scratch the surface with Inferno in that animated series. I mean, I think they dedicated half an episode to it. Like I said, there's 3 omnis that cover this. So much going on with Limbo, with Madeline Pryor. It has Louise Simonson's storytelling, which just gives you such a nostalgic 80s vibe. Basically, every tie-in on how Inferno was infecting the rest of the Marvel Universe. All right, guys, moving on. We're going to get into some 90s goodness, and I'm talking the X-Men by Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, Volume 2. I am skipping over Volume 1, which people love Volume 1. It does have the first appearance of Gambit. It does have great stories, but Volume 2, I'm including it in this video because this is where we get the adjectiveless X-Men, where you get the 90s X-Men. It covers X-Factor 63 through 70, Uncanny 273 through 280, but you get the first 9 issues of the groundbreaking 90s run with that incredible gatefold poster for issue number 1. You get the first appearance of Omega Red in issue 4, although he is in the pinup, I believe, in issue 1. Peak 90s artwork and storytelling. Chris Claremont, Jim Lee on Volume 2. Definitely an essential read. We have to include the Age of Apocalypse. You get a what if within the X-Men canon, circling one of my favorite X-Men villains with Apocalypse. This one is a future that has been changed. Professor X being killed, changing the course of history, and changing the course of X-Men titles. I thought it was kind of cool how they did that. They did a bunch of new reboot series, 4-issue miniseries with all new titles. For example, Amazing X-Men 1 through 4, Astonishing XMen 1 through 4, Factor X, Gambit and the Externals, Generation Next, Weapon X, Excalibur, X-Man 1 through 4, and it also collects X-Men Alpha and X-Men Omega, which had those beautiful wraparound chrome covers. I love the artwork of Age of Apocalypse. I like this kind of what-if futuristic version of the X-Men universe. Definitely a fan favorite. X-Men 97 was the inspiration for this video. I'm a huge fan of the original animated series, and I loved the X-Men Adventures comic books. These are the adaptations, which is funny because the cartoons were adaptations based off of the comics. These are comics based off of those cartoons that were based off of comic books. But the thing about this book, it has incredible artwork. I think oftentimes it's overlooked as just adaptations of the cartoon that we already have great episodes of. But the art is amazing. It's got some of the best heroes and villains from the X-Men universe, and it's definitely an essential top 10 X-Men Omnibus. All right, this one may be a little bit controversial, but I think as time goes on, and if they include this in Season 2 of X-Men 97, it'll make more and more sense. But I'm going to go with the Onslaught Omnibus, which is technically an X-Men Avengers crossover event. This was an event that shook the Marvel Universe. A new villain, a combination of Professor X and Magneto, and this had ramifications not just in the X-Men and Avengers universes, but the entire Marvel Universe. Now, this collects every single tie-in, all of the main story stuff, and again, I'm seeing a lot of rumors circulating that this may be where they're going with the next season of X-Men 97 if it gets greenlit, which I don't see how it won't at this point. It's been such a fan favorite and such a successful animated series. They got to continue it, and we got to get Onslaught. All right, guys, we're getting close to the end here. This is number 9, and it's Astonishing XMen. This is by Joss Whedon and John Cassidy. Now, I think this is one of the most accessible X-Men stories that you can read. It does follow directly from Grant Morrison's new X-Men, and I think it does benefit you to read that prior. But you could really just pick this up and get a self-contained story with modern artwork and character designs that are still used to this day. This does not suffer from being involved in any crossover events or any tie-ins purposefully. Joss Whedon, who was known at the time for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the 90s show, critically acclaimed, fan favorite, would later on direct one of the best comic book movies of all time with The Avengers, does a great job with this story. There's basically 3 different arcs. You've got the mutant cure, which we've seen borrowed in live-action X-Men movies, plus they have Sentinel stuff here. So much great storytelling, a great team, and awesome artwork. This video is brought to you by Bad Music, issue number 1. Following the battle at the Ninja Funk Dojo and the capture of BB, Bad Music retreats to their headquarters at the Nexus. With the love of Laser Wolf's life as irresistible bait, there's no doubt in Queen Bad's mind that her nemesis will come knocking and she's ready for them. Will Laser Wolf, JPG McFly, and Wolfgang see the trap for what it is or run headlong into disaster? Find out in Ninja Funk Bad Music number 1 in stores June 5th. All right, guys, now the last one on my essential top 10 X-Men Omnis, I'm going to go with House of M. Similar to Onslaught, yeah, this is an X-Men event, but it really has implications to the overall Marvel Universe. This one is surrounding Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, who has ties to both X-Men and the Avengers. I mean, she's Magneto's daughter. She was first introduced in X-Men 4 in that first omnibus that we've shown. but she creates a world where the X-Men are the dominant species. And in this same event, she whispers the most famous words in all of comic books, "No more mutants," and destroys all of the mutants. This is an amazing event, and it collects every single tie-in. It's got to be a top 10 X-Men Omnibus. All right, so there goes my top 10 X-Men Omnibus. Let me know what you thought about this list in the comments down below. Would you have switched anything out? Some people may say Mutant Massacre. Some may say Fall of the Mutants. Sound off in the comments down below. Either way, I appreciate you watching. Stay minty fresh. Peace.